good, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to StarChasers. We back, y'all. We back. What's good? What's good, everybody? As you guys know, it's your girl Cravin Cowboys in the building. As always, I got my girl Star riding with me. How you doing tonight, girl?
What's up? What's up, everybody? Y'all know we appreciate y'all rocking in the chat with us for another episode of Star Chasers Girls Talk Ball. You know, we had to miss last week because I had some stuff to take care of, had new baby and family, all this stuff. But I'm glad to be, here this week, even though it's so crazy.
Yes, Auntie Star coming through. Yes, Auntie Star. Let them know, girl. Let them know we got to celebrate life around here. No apologies. We always got to celebrate life.
My sister has another daughter, so helping take care of that, do all that stuff. But I really appreciate all of y'all. I'm glad to be back, even though this is a crazy ass work week. I just wanted to we wanted to make sure that we got on today. And this is the Shiesty Mans. And Angie time that we look like what?
Yes.
This is the Shiesty Mans because we embracing the YM. We embracing the YM. Let me see if I got a button for that. Do I got a button for that? Oh yeah, we embracing the YN. So but anyway, we appreciate y'all. Y'all know when y'all come in, please like the video, please share the video, please subscribe to our YouTube channels. Mine is Stargazer Sports, Mickey's is Cravin Cowboys. And y'all also, if y'all feel so kind in your heart to donate to the Cash App, which is down there on the screen, $ Stargazer Sports and Mickey's $MP Cox 90. So really appreciate y'all, but y'all know we got to get into some things today. We got to talk about why we even dress like this in the first place. And also talk about the schedule, which there's been a leak of what our schedule is now. I think Fish put it out. So our schedule is out, but the official schedule release, I think, is in about 20 minutes. Yeah, I think it's at 7.
Yeah, I think about it. I think it's on Echo Network or something.
Yeah, I think it releases at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 Eastern. That's what I think. So yeah, but anyway, we really appreciate y'all. Now we don't have on hijabs, guys. We just have on the Shiesty Mans. You know what I'm saying? This is
right. Maybe we should turn up Star. Maybe we should show we mean business.
Okay,
I mean, if y'all wanted to know, you know what I'm saying? We can go like this, y'all.
Exactly. But I'm like, I don't know if y'all can hear me good, but maybe this is how we need to talk, so y'all know we got on the Shiesty Mans. We got on the Shiesty Mans.
Right.
No offense to any of them. We love our Muslim brothers and sisters. So if any Muslims is watching, we love you and we appreciate you. So we're definitely not nothing against the Muslims. I'm just saying we're not dressed as Muslims. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. But anyway, but yeah, we can get into the content and talk about
yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, Cowboys Nation. I'm sure you guys already know. I was just talking to Star about this before we hopped on here. Like, even a week later, it's definitely, still a little bit unheard of for the Cowboys to be moving in this manner. I mean, we've seen, shout out to Big Game James. He's, one of the first content creators I've kind of heard, kind of mention the term "shut up" signings. Guys who they sign, even up to as this offseason. You know what I'm saying? And there's no disrespect to the players that they've signed as far as shut up signings, but it just in my opinion, I'm sure with some other fans, guys that you bring on, they kind of have like an asterisk next to their name, right? Some of the guys that they brought in this offseason, they had a great rookie season. Javonte Williams had a great rookie season, but it was kind of buried in the depth chart with injury. Same thing with Peyton Turner. Kind of got a step back with injury. Solomon Thomas, he's older. He's a vet. He's versatile on the line, but he's older. But definitely shores up the depth, right? So I think that's some positive we can kind of take. Although we do have some of these kind of signs and like I said, up this off season, we can kind of take away the fact that the Cowboys are kind of building, kind of scraping away at the depth, if you will. I think with Shadi kind of talking about competition this offseason, this kind of a theme for me that I kind of noticed. I'm not the only one, but they're kind of intentional with this offseason. Schottenheimer has been intentional with being being straightforward with the front office, also just being upfront intentional with what he expects from his players and his coaching staff as well. The players are the only one who is going to be new with this scheme and really with the way things kind of operate in the building. So I just like that, Shadi, is just really being intentional, the way he communicates with the players, the front office, just being clear on what he expects from these players and also what he expects the coaches, to be teaching the players. Like even he said during the mini camp, when he expects to go around to these different groups, kind of being active and wanting to see what these guys are progressing with. Every 10 to 15 minutes, he's going to check on not just the offense, but the defense as well. He lets them know, he mentioned about having these cards in his press conference, hey, at these times, I want to come see this. I want to see a pattern drill or pattern mirror drill. He just kind of mentions things that he expects to see at these certain times to see if these coaches are, being effective. How much can you accomplish in the 15-minute time slot, right? Can you, although you are going to the next level up, coaches like Conor Riley, Junior Adams, although you're building a relationship with these players, can you be efficient with this 15-minute time slot? Can you be efficient enough to teach these players, what they need to know, and also be able to move on? Not just to be able to play, for the players to be able to keep up, but can these coaches keep up as well? I really like that. Not just coaches, coaches and players are kind of going through this kind of this lesson with Shadi, and just kind of learning how to navigate this off season.
Exactly. And I think it's just so important what you said, sis, when it comes to Shadi, because we named this show Embrace the YN, and is there a culture change? And if anybody would describe the Dallas Cowboys, right, over the last year, especially under both eras, you can say, under the Jason Garrett era, under the Mike McCarthy era, they have always said that we are soft. You know what I'm saying? That we're soft, that we're we're always, we're finesse, right? We're soft, we're finesse, we're always getting bullied. Dak always gets
front runners. That was a thing, like Aaron Jones.
Exactly.
Front runners. Yeah, man.
When they get pushed in their mouth, they're gonna fall.
Exactly.
Everybody always says too that with Dak, they call Dak PC Dak, and he's always politically correct Dak and Captain America Dak, and
businessman, company man.
That's what they said. We're a team full of company men, and that's why we can't win in the big games, and we can't beat the better teams because we're just a bunch of company men. We're just a bunch of punks and all this type of stuff. So I want to show y'all about the culture shift, because yes, I believe that. And shout out to Boss Cowboy, because, people have been attributing a lot to Shadi. He's also been trying to tell us that it's not just Shadi that's brought about this change. It's also the anger of the fans. Dak Owens, thank you. Hit the like button. Hit the like button.
Yes.
Put that on the screen, sis, so people can see you. Y'all, please hit the like button. We really appreciate y'all. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Angie the Lunatic. Hallelujah. Whoever else, I don't know.
Stephen White came too early.
Stephen White, yes. Just shout out to everybody. We really appreciate y'all. But when it comes to Boss has been telling us it's been more so fan anger than it has been a shift because of Shadi. But I think that it's both. I think that it has been a shift. I think the front office shifted because of the fan anger. But I think the way in which we're moving, and when you see how our team has already come together, because I had tweeted out that, a big task for Shadi was going to be, can you bring the offense and the defense together as one? Yeah. Because under Mike McCarthy, we seem to be way more separated. It was like, this is the offense, this is the defense. You may have some people on the offense and defense that are friends, but it didn't seem like the whole team as a collective for friends. So that's why, when I'm looking and I'm seeing all the guys at the Stars game yesterday, then I'm looking at today, CD and Micah and Osa and Tyler, and Steven out golfing and Shadi.
Star. What's up, guys?
I was like, what is?
I ain't never seen Steven out and about.
Y'all tell me the last time y'all seen Steven dap up somebody or giving hugs. It's like, what is going on? And he got his hand on CD, like, I'm like, what is going on?
Somebody pull Steven aside, bro.
But it might have been Shadi, because
I don't know if you saw that part when Shadi pulled up and Michael was like, "What's in that cup, Shadi?" He was like, "Oh, a shot." I'm like, "Look, I don't know what y'all
doing, but I'm just saying we was not doing. It was different. It's different. We wasn't doing this stuff under Mike McCarthy. That's all I'm gonna say. We wasn't doing
Right.
this stuff under Mike McCarthy. I don't know who got into who or what, but I will say who changed? The players did not change. The front
Right.
office did not change. What changed was the coaches. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's all I'm saying. I don't know, but I'm saying I'm just really feeling. I'm feeling the energy. And then
Me
when we
too.
look at, I can go to here. I'll screenshot. Let me see. Or share screen, not screenshot. But when we look at actually we can play this because this is the full quote from Stephen Jones. So I'm gonna play this. This is from Mag Dog Radio. And shout out to Brandon Laurie. He's like the FBI investigator. Anything that goes on with the team, when you need sound clips, interviews, player workouts, whatever, y'all
Right.
follow Brandon Laurie because he's got everything and he gets it fast. But yeah, I'm gonna click on this clip so that we can hear Stephen's full clip about his him getting George Pickens.
Take us through the transaction, how you guys got this deal done, and the expectations for Pickens for this season.
Well, first of all, we look at him. It's just two starting receivers out there. We don't necessarily even think we take him as more than a two. When we were looking at the deal, certainly we looked at the draft. In terms of scratching an itch. Seeing what might be available there in the draft. But here you get a guy who's got experience, who's had great success in the NFL. Obviously, a tremendous competitor. He reminds a lot in our building of Dez Bryant in terms of, his competitiveness and, what he brings to the field, his edge. And, we were, as I said, we were looking at the draft as a way to look at filling that need when it didn't happen. We had some opportunities around the league that we were looking at, and this one, at the end of the day, made the most sense. And whether it was Coach Schottenheimer and his offensive staff looking at him, whether Will McClay and the personnel group, obviously Jerry and myself, felt like this was the best action for us, and certainly one that made a lot of sense to us.
Facts. And then we can show, because I don't think they had one of the quotes. I'm going to just read the direct quote. Let me see. Can I get out of here? Okay, I think I did this. Yeah. Let me pull up. I'm going to read the full quote because I think there were some things that was listed. It just said he's an uber competitor, and we had one in Dez Bryant who was the same way. I mean, he just couldn't get enough. And boy, when the lights came on and his cleats hit the turf, he was a different guy. And it feels like George is going to be that way. He certainly sometimes plays with high emotion. And that cannot, and as we all know, when you're playing sports and you're competing and you're playing with a lot of emotion, sometimes you can make a wrong decision here and there. But we had that with Dez. But certainly he knows he wants to continue to get his hands around that. Just like Dez worked at it all the time. And we feel like that it's certainly worth what comes with that. This is how we know we're embracing the YN. This is how I got the term embrace the YN. Because he said, and we feel like that it's certainly worth what comes with that in terms of what he's doing to continue to get better when he's out there competing week in and week out. So this and is also, saying, go ahead, sis.
And also kind of add on to that. And I think there was one part to his quote where he said, "And with us doing our homework, and that we actually checked around, said that his teammates actually had love for George Pickens." And also, right. Actually, shout out to Aisha Morrison. She actually spoke on this too on Girls Talk, Boys Talk. She actually said she spoke with a Steelers scout and said that George Pickens is a player who needs another chance. So I mean, it's not like they just picked up a random guy or picked up a guy who and didn't do their research. Somebody that actually did their homework on. I think that I like that they actually feel like he can be a good fit for the team.
Absolutely. And so, sorry guys, I thought I had the quote up on the screen, but this is quoted from John Machota wrote this, so y'all know John Machota. You gotta know. But anyway, it said, and I know all the homework we did. He's well loved by his teammates. That's what sis was saying. They want him on their team, and we felt the same way about this. And we just feel like he's going to bring something here to our organization that we need in terms of an edge, bringing that energy of competition to the field day in, day out, week in, week out. So this is why we're saying that this feels, do we know? We don't know, right? but this feels like a culture shift. It feels like a culture change because everybody knows Steven. Uh, Steven was the one who jacked up Jerry because he didn't want Prime.
Yeah.
Steven was the one who would condemn Dez when Dez would come out on the field. I remember it was that Philly game and Dez was screaming in people's face. Steven was like, we don't really like that. You know, Steven has always been the crunchy one, the one uptight, the one who always seemed like he got a stick up his asshole. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
One of those types of guys. But when you see Steven saying these types of things, when he says, we know what he is and we know he gets emotional, but we feel like we're willing to accept that. We're willing to embrace what comes with that because we know when you have an Uber competitor, they're going to spaz out sometimes. They're going to get crazy. They're going to maybe hit somebody sometimes. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get in somebody's face sometimes. But that's what comes when you have a competitor like George Pickens, when you have a competitor like a Dez Bryant. So this is why I'm saying that I feel like the staff from Shoddy to the front office to the players are like, they realized what the issue was, right? And it feels like they're doing something to change the issue. And this George Pickens pickup showed that the front office is getting serious. They're getting serious because before you just, I'll go get Brandon Cooks. That's good. You know, we got Brandon Cooks or Keenan Allen or Tyler Lockett. Be like, that's cool. That's a decent pickup. Or Amari Cooper. You know, they're going to help us. But this was a move that you say, I'm going all in. I'm finally going to take a risk. Finally. Yeah. After the last risk we took was Amari Cooper in 2018, 6 years ago. So the fact that we actually took a risk and got a bona fide dog, that says something to me. But go ahead, sis.
No, I really just want to piggyback on your facts, is honestly because I think what the Cowboys kind of see, I think I kind of heard this kind of mentioned on a couple Cowboys radio, so they're kind of building trust right now with Schottenheimer, and I think they're really kind of riding on this experience. I know he doesn't have that quote unquote experience as a head coach, but I think that he's kind of taken his experience from his years throughout the league, and you kind of hear him talk about his press conference where he talks about, I've seen how, when I take a look at players, back when in his role as an OC, right? So he was kind of playing the back row, kind of looking around at players as they learn from Mike McCarthy. And he kind of mentioned examples that sometimes you see players kind of looking off into space, or you kind of see players not paying attention, or sometimes you see players show up late, kind of really pinpointing some discipline things, right? So I don't know. I'm not saying he's kind of calling out some things that were wrong with McCarthy's era, but I think he's kind of taking those lessons that he kind of learned and kind of really pushing them forward because he even kind of mentioned, I think you kind of said just a couple weeks ago, sis, where you kind of mentioned that Shoddy kind of knew that Pickens was coming in, but he didn't say anything. But he actually kind of really alluded to it in his press conference. He kind of said, we're not always going to have he quote unquote really said, we're not always going to have high character people, but it's about what we do in those moments when we are in those low moments, when we do have, bad games or we're losing a game. How do we kind of get back in those moments? We kind of pick ourselves up and kind of put ourselves back in the better position. So when I kind of heard him say that, I'm like, okay, so not saying he was talking about Pickens specifically, but he said, we're not always going to have those, high character, because we're not always going to have
the fire boys.
Exactly. Yeah. And even Dr. Bosh Lombardi, he was on here a few weeks ago. Even he said, you don't build up a whole team of leaders to lead leaders. You know what I'm saying? Or divas. What he said, divas to lead divas. I'm not sure of the exact quote he said, but you don't really pull up, build a whole team of captains to lead other captains, right? So it's really important to see what this team and players and coaches alike. I think he's made it clear that it's really everyone's responsibility, whether you're a coach, whether you're a player. The guys you're standing next to, not saying you're fully responsible for him, but you're responsible for, are you being a leader to him? Are you playing your role? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing to, kind of, attribute to the team? So I think it's really important that, that you have players who are captains. Yeah, exactly. You don't build a leadership culture to keep divas out. You build leadership so they can lead the divas. Shout out to Barcelona Barn. That was a huge. Yes, yeah. I don't know if you give him some claps. That's definitely clap worthy. Yes.
Give him some claps and give him some guns, because that was definitely a bullet there, and I think
Yeah.
it's exactly what Bob says. Like you cannot have a team full of quiet boys. You need, just like in your friend group, like you need that one friend that will spaz out. Like you need, everybody can't be,
Yeah.
no, let's just do things the right way at the right time, guys. Come on. It's like, no. Sometimes you need
Mm-hmm.
that friend that's like crazy. You know what I'm saying? That'll bring that
Yeah.
energy, because it's like that type of energy is contagious. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes
Yeah.
you need that energy. In football, you need YN energy. You need
Yeah.
that type of energy. You need that type of aggression. This is a physical sport. You can't
Yeah.
be trying to play football all PC and, oh, let me help you up, man, and, oh, I
Right. Yep.
don't want to
Yep.
hurt him at all. Like, no, this is not, like, go, if you want to do that, I don't know. You need to go play an individual sport, maybe go do ice skating or something like that. But when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to football, you have to get down, dirty, and physical. And
Yeah.
so I'm glad that we stopped this whole notion or whatever that everybody needs to be PC. Everybody needs to be Captain America and all this type of stuff, because it's like, yeah, that sounds good, but that's not going to win when you. I mean, you can win some games, but if you want to win the big games against the big dogs, you need
Yeah.
dogs. That's just how it goes. Like if you want to win the big games versus the big dogs, you need dogs. That's just
Yeah.
how it goes. So I'm glad that we finally embraced it. And then looking at, I'm trying to pull up the tweet. And I'm like, where the hell my bookmarks go? My bookmarks just fell off the face of the earth because that.
Oh, you got to go. They put it under more now. You got to go.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, what the
Yeah.
hell going on? Okay, but
I don't know
anyway,
why they changed that.
if we look at what Dak said, because he was on DFW the ticket today, and he said, him and George Pickens have connected. I'm excited. You turn on the tape, you see a guy that can catch the football, you put the football anywhere in his vicinity, very strong hands, more than a 50-50 catcher. He thinks it's his ball when it's in the air. I'm excited for him. I know we needed some help. Look at this. Dak saying, I know we needed some help at that position. So Dak is saying, love you, Tolbert, love you, Brooks, love you, Turpin, but we needed help. And y'all remember, who was that came out a few months ago and said, I need help. I can't do it by myself?
Facts.
Who was that? CD Lamb,
Mm-hmm.
right? So here's Dak backing him up. We needed help at that position, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to double team two guys. I think we're putting together a nice group of weapons. That's why I said shout out to Dak, because Dak is team weapons. Because
Mm-hmm.
he knew, there was rumors. And first of all, before I keep going, shout out to Dak Owns 50. He dropped me money in my Cash App. I really appreciate that, Dak Owns 50. I appreciate you so much, and everybody who donates to me, I really appreciate you. But
yes, and also I'll make a cut you off. Also on that same note, shout out to the Lunatic, who also dropped some cash in my Cash App as well.
Appreciate everybody who's donated. And is that the Lunatic? No, I think it's Dak Owns. Yeah, I think it's Dak Owns 50, because that's what he put in the comments. Either one. If it was either one of y'all, I appreciate y'all. But anyway, when it comes to, Dak saying, like, we needed weapons. We needed more. And it's like, that's all the team weapons was saying, is that, listen, if we want to get better, we want to beat the better teams, we have to get these teams out of this game plan that they've been sitting in since 2021. I'm going to rush 4, and I'm going to drop 7 to 8 in coverage. Or then recently, after like 2022, they're like, you know what? You guys don't have anybody outside of CeeDee Lamb, so we'll just play press man all day, because we don't feel threatened by any of your other wide receivers. I love to see people pull up now and play press man. I love to see it. You know what I'm saying? I love to see you think you're going to sit up there all day with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and play press man all day long. But you see, that's the type of shit that they could do to us when we didn't have nobody else. When our number 2 was Tolbert, or a Smurf and Brandon Cooks. You know what I'm saying? Like,
not a Smurf, sis. Come on. I mean, and I'm actually glad you said that, because I think we mentioned that on I think a show sometime this year. I'm not really sure, but we talk about the Cowboys and their targets, right? Who they target in free agency as far as receiver. We had T.Y. Hilton come through here, Brandon Cooks, both under 6 foot. Even CD, I think he's about 6 foot. We talked about wanting to target a taller receiver, physical receiver. So I'm glad they brought in a player like George Pickens. I mean, there were even but some guys that we had kind of come through our practice squad the last couple of years, they didn't show, what really needed at the wide receiver 2 position, but they had, in my opinion, Ty Billy Johnson, even I think his name Malik Harmon, I believe his first name is Malik. Please forgive me, that's not their first name, I'm sorry, but I think on practice squad now he's a tall guy, but still a practice squad guy. So I love that those physical traits, but it's just we really needed that at the number 2, at the wide receiver 2 position.
Absolutely, like we needed that. And I think, that's what the wide receiver that I've been wanting Dak to have forever is a true X wide receiver. He hasn't really had that since this. He kind of utilized Michael Gallup like that, but Michael Gallup was very good, but he wasn't elite. He wasn't great. He was just like very good. But it's like now you have a guy in George Pickens who is a number 1 wide receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
A number 1 wide receiver who is a true X wide receiver. And then when you look at how, the routes that he runs compared to CD, we know CD moves all over, but, his damage is done in the slot. So then you add in a George Pickens where his damage is all done on the outside. So it's like just a match made in heaven. And so we are hoping, then you look at what Pickens is great at and what Dak is great at. So when it comes to like stop routes and go routes and stuff like that. So and out routes and stuff like that. So I'm really excited that, we added some firepower because we've been saying for so long, years now, ever since we lost Amari, like, you need to give Dak weapons. There is only so much he can do. And I always say, great or elite quarterbacks, they can carry you to the playoffs, but they can't carry you through the playoffs. And even in some cases, they can't even carry you to the playoffs because you look at a quarterback like Joe Burrow, everybody says Joe Burrow was unequivocally top 5 quarterback. He played out of his mind last year, played great. Jamar Chase played great, but they didn't even make the playoffs.
And he's even running. And I was even surprised to see Burrow in the running for MVP for his team to have the seasons that they had, and for him to still have an MVP season. That says a lot of Joe Burrow. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Like he had an MVP season, and his team was like 8-9, made the Pro Bowl. So in some cases, it don't even matter who your quarterback is. Your quarterback needs a team to win. He needs a complete team to win because Joe Burrow, him and Jamar Chase set the league on fire last year and wasn't even enough to make playoffs because why? Their defense was so bad. So you need a real team. You need a complete team to win, and you need a very, very good to elite. Let's face it, guys. If you're going to win the Super Bowl, your team has to be elite. Like you're not going to win the Super Bowl being a okay team. You win the Super Bowl. And I'm not talking about everybody on your team is Pro Bowl or All Pro. I'm saying when the team performs as a collective, they perform at an elite level. Because I know people, they'll bring up, the Giants, with Eli Manning, they made it. I'm like, well, the team was playing at an elite level. You can't beat teams consecutively in the playoffs and win the Super Bowl if the team is not playing together at an elite level. It just don't happen.
Right. I definitely agree. And just kind of a point that you just made, Star, and also tried to Stephen White. He put this in the comments section saying Pickens and Mingo can hold the outside 2 CD slot action. And I actually want to bring up a clip that I have for the show from Michael Irvin because he kind of spoke on this just a little bit.
What's up, John? Glad to see you.
And
Iceberg. Shout out to you, Iceberg.
Yes, and also shout out to John Jones. Thank you guys appreciate you guys jumping on here with us. Make sure you guys hit the like button and the share button. I just want to share this clip because Michael Irvin kind of spoke on this too. To your point, Star, about he kind of early on in this video he spoke about there were a lot of guys in the draft this season. We talk about Egbuka, we talk about Matthew Golden. Guys who kind of mirror CD. And I think we talked about earlier, a couple weeks ago too, Star. Before, actually, I say about a month now before the draft actually came in, and we kind of spoke about that how a lot of the receivers kind of held the same traits as CD, and it was kind of hard to at least for me, to kind of choose who I would prefer because it's like, well, this guy kind of does the same thing CD does. A lot of these guys are slot guys, and Michael Irvin kind of spoke about how he kind of compared George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb to back when him and Alvin Harper were playing, just kind of explaining this for the chat. And I want you guys to kind of listen to what he says and how it's not really going to create, I know we talk about, wide receiver 1 and 2 or 1 and 1A and possibly these two guys kind of competing. But, I want you guys to kind of hear what Michael Irvin kind of, how he kind of compares the situation. Let me if I can.
I think one of the things that I would like to see is
Absolutely,
how
and I
Brian
agree.
Let me bring it.
And while she's getting the clip, oh, here it goes. Okay.
Here's slant route. It's a D.
They would play hamper basketball.
Oh, yeah, and this is actually the beginning of the. Actually, I'll just go ahead and play the whole clip. Actually, what he was talking about in the beginning of the clip, actually, what you were kind of alluding to, Star, about the different traits and different kind of routes that each receiver can run. And not saying that other receivers like Tolbert and Brooks can't run these same kind of routes, but like you were talking about, sis,
Not in
about
the
playing.
elite level.
I was gonna say it's about playing at an elite level. And when you actually bring in a player like Pickens, you can actually have each player like a CD, like a Jake Ferguson. You can kind of have Jake Ferguson go back to what he specializes in. Seam routes. Kind of those inside slants. Those routes along the middle. So it just kind of allows even Turpin. You can kind of bring him on specialized plays. Bring him out the backfield, things like that. It's just you're no longer constricting these players to only certain plays. They actually can progressing these things that they actually specialize in.
That's on my 4-5 foot. Here's a slant route. It's a deep slant route. I'm gonna run into the safety, bang bang, as opposed to a slant route where I'm gonna run it. I will run into the linebacker, bang bang, but it's all bang bang. Action 8s, deep post, over the top post. Those Alvin Harpers. We had a distinct understanding. And we did what we did, that we were different. I wasn't trying to be Alvin. Alvin wasn't trying to be me, and he made it work. That's what I see here with the George Pickens. See, George Pickens ain't trying to be CD. CD can't be George Pickens. That's what makes this work. CD can masterfully control the whole field. And then you get George Pickens, the thing that you cannot stop, that thing you cannot teach, that thing you cannot coach. He has. He's a freakish athlete that has a great understanding of the space around him. I would call this his way to put his body in position to make a play, and his thirst to make that big play.
And that was the end of the clip. So I just love that point that he added. I like that he kind of made it a point to say that these two players, first of all, these guys are friends. You know what I'm saying? I knew that. I know receivers kind of operate among themselves, in the league, but me personally, I didn't know how close CD and Pickens were. So to see that number one of their friends are coming in, like CD tweeted, there's no ego. And like Michael Ehrlichman just really confirmed, at least for me, watching as a fan, me watching, kind of learning the background, these two players coming together. Now they're playing on the same team. I mean, you guys seen CD tweet out, the little waving, a meme when they first signed Pickens. So just like, number one, they're coming on good vibes with each other. You know what I'm saying? Not like a quote unquote stranger where you have to learn, you can pick up guys at free agency. You kind of have to learn how to mesh with them, how to play with them, and how you guys operate on the same, team together. But it's amazing to kind of get these vibes early on. And now these guys get to work together, get to play together. And now hopefully it kind of permeates through the rest of the wide receiver room. But now hopefully we'll see a more present CD, being amongst the wide receivers, kind of,
right.
Hopefully, waiting this.
Exactly.
So I'm hoping that we'll see a little bit more CD now, because I didn't know OTAs are right next week, so right around the corner. So we're really about to see things really start to pick up. A lot of these things really in action. Guys, studying the playbook. Getting the offense going. I think I heard them on the stream today kind of talk about how they're excited about the offense and getting things going. So I'm just I can't wait. It's not just to pick up for the team, but not just another player that's a part of the offseason. This really just brings a huge jolt to just the team, offense, defense. Like you mentioned earlier, the guys coming together, not just about the coaching staff bringing the team together. I just think it's a huge point, Star, about you saying about Shady bringing the offense and defense together, because that really could be, for all we know, the missing piece. We've seen in previous years, Michael saying, well, and I don't only pertain to defense, but I did what I was supposed to do. I did my job. I did this. I did this. Guys got to make sure they do their part, this, that, and the third. But it's just like, if the Cowboys can just come together, play together, also play the individual roles, but just really come together as a team, I think some of that I know emotion is maybe like a touchy word in maybe in the world of football, but sometimes when you do have those emotions, it could really tie the team together, and you guys just play better based off that because you are friends with these guys. You guys want to play together, but also compete too because it makes you guys that much stronger individually and also together.
Facts, sis, and that's what I was talking about. I'm glad we showed this clip of the playmaker. Explaining how these two wide receivers are going to be able to bounce off of each other because they're not the same. If you have two slot wide receivers, it's going to be kind of hard. Like something like that, the situation they got over there in Seattle. You got Cooper Kupp as a slot receiver, and you got JSN as a slot receiver. So how's that going to work out? I don't know, but that's for them to figure out. You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad that we went out and said we need a wide receiver that complements CD, right? And so we needed to get what he said about George Pickens is the same thing. I agree with everything he said about Pickens and CD. CD is elite, can control the whole field. George Pickens is elite and an athletic freak that can do some slot work, but he is a true dominant X wide receiver where he can control that boundary. And that's what we need. We need that wide receiver that when Dak's in trouble, he can just throw it up like Jalen Hurts does. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like Burrow does. Burrow just throws it up to T. Higgins or throws it up to Jamar Chase and they come down with it.
Hell, even last year, Baker Mayfield, I know somebody.
Baker Mayfield threw 40 touchdowns last year. He threw 40 touchdowns last year. Just throwing it up
red zone
to Evans.
And he brings another red zone threat. And another thing I love.
Right, that's a red zone threat because you got a big target. So when you have a true XY receiver, it makes your quarterback's life a lot easier. Dak has been out here throwing to Smurfs. I'm sorry. But you throwing the 5'11" Brandon Cooks, 5'9" Turpin. It's like this is not going to work. And it's not that Dak can't get the ball to them, it's that he gets the ball to them, but they're too little. Right. If you go back and watch the last 49ers game we played last year, what was the final play? Dak throwing a go route to Turpin. What happened? Turpin can't catch him because he's too little. That DB was all over him. But see, if that's George Pickens, that's a catch, baby. So that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes he has, like the playmaker said, Pickens has what you can't teach.
Yeah.
You can't teach. You can't teach, dog. You can't teach. Shout out to Angel Reese. She said, I'm a dog. You can't teach.
Hell yeah.
You can't teach, dog. You can't teach the athletic ability and stuff that George Pickens has. He just got it because that's his natural God-given talent.
Exactly. Huge point.
So,
I love this. I'm glad you said this, the lunatic. I'm so glad you said this. Pickens lead the league with 450-some yards, where the catch probability was less than 50%. And we saw a playmaker mention that too on this clip. And
his hands are crazy. I mean, he's got one of the best hands in the NFL. He's got one of the best hands. His tracking the ball ability. Now, I'm going to say one of his nonsense is he, on his current film, is he the best route runner? No, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. But what did the playmaker say? He said, I was underneath. I was slant.
Right.
I was a slant guy. I was a possession. Stop, I'm going to do my stop right. I'm going to box you out. He said, but Harper, I'm going to take the roof off of it.
Yeah.
So you got to have, it don't matter can you do what you do at an elite level? Everybody can't be, every wide receiver in the NFL is not going to be an elite route runner because every wide receiver is not a route runner type of guy. There's different types of wide receivers, right? But there's different makeups of type of wide receivers. There's different routes that you got to have the wide receivers run based off of their capabilities, right? Everybody is limited. Everybody goes into a certain category. This is the type of player that I am. But if you try to make a player something that they're not, then that's when players look like ass.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean the player is ass, but it's like if a coach is going to have, it's just like Myles Garrett, right? Myles Garrett is elite, right? He's an elite pass rusher. But you think if we had Myles Garrett, say, Myles Garrett, we're going to have you play a little bit of middle linebacker. What the hell you think Myles Garrett going to look like?
Right.
Ass, get him off the field immediately. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to play players to their strengths. And I believe that we have the players now to play to Dak's strengths. Players, we're going to have them in position that can play to their own strengths, right? Because that's something that Shotty and the coaching staff has emphasized about knowing what these players do and maximizing what they do great.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really see that in Mike McCarthy. I saw Mike say that with his mouth.
Right.
You choose players over scheme. But when it came to the scheme, like, you got little ass wide receivers trying to run slants and whip routes. Like, how do you think that's going to work?
Right.
Those are big bodies and stop routes. Like, those are big body wide receiver routes, not a route for a wide receiver of the frame of Brandon Cooks, who's 5'11", and Turpin, who's 5'9" or 5'8", or whatever.
5'9", yeah, I believe either same height or just slightly shorter than Brandon Cooks, or slightly taller. Actually, I think they were listed as.
No, he's shorter than Cooks. He's shorter than Cooks. Cooks is like 5'11" or 5'10". Turpin is like 5'9". So they around the same height. They like a couple inches.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, the lunatic. He said Blue and Turpin. That's another thing. I'm been looking at Blue, and I think I got a good feel of what Blue is. He's just a home. His thing is speed. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a home run hitter. He's a receiving back with a lot of speed. You know what I'm saying? So he's a guy that definitely, you give him a crease, you give him open windows, open holes, he's taking it straight to the house. But yeah, I think, but we done pretty much used the whole show on Pickens, but we also talked about culture and how we feel like the guys are coming together. And like you said, sis, that's what I want to talk about the emotions, how the playmaker talked about this multiple times about how there was no difference. There was no offense and defense.
Exactly.
There's just a brotherhood. And I'm liking that I'm seeing, like, CD usually he training, he doing this, he doing that, he ain't showing up to me. Like,
exactly.
But to see CD here, that's such a big deal. Like, to see him here in OTAs with his guys, playing golf, talking to Shotty, talking to Steven, like, that's a big deal. Because it means that the guys are really bonding. They're really, like, the fact that they all went to the Stars game is like they're becoming a brotherhood already as soon as possible. And that's just something that we didn't see. We saw under Mike McCarthy, 3 guys here, 2 guys here, but not the whole. All these guys are coming together to celebrate and go do stuff together. Like, that shows me already.
I don't know how much this team was out there, but I think Wanya was out there too. Sam Williams was there too, I believe, too.
Yeah, I couldn't see all, but I knew it was a lot of players in both offense and defense. And so I just think that that's just a big thing. And that's really what this team is. One of the things that's been missing from the culture is the brotherhood. Are we together? Are we really playing together? Do we really know each other for real?
Right, yes.
One thing that Shotty talked about, that the rookies talked about, is like, first day Shotty was like, go talk to him. Like, go talk to him and go and get past all the just, get deeper than just the, hey, where you from? Like, go find out things about him. Like, you need to know your players. And that's why I'm glad Shotty was out there playing golf, because he's trying to get to know his players. Not just, oh yeah, I know Micah. Oh, I know CD. No, he want to know Micah's daughter name, his son name. He want to know what's Micah's favorite food. He want to know where Micah likes to travel. He want to know when Micah started playing football, what position he started. Like, this is what's important, because as a coach, you need to be able to have that connection, because the players of the 90s, they'll tell you, they played for Jimmy. That's why they love Jimmy, because they played for him. They had high reverence and respect. Right? But you get that from the relationships that you build. And Jimmy knew his players, and Jimmy will say, he's like, listen, I knew my players. I knew who I could yell at and who I couldn't. I knew you can't yell at him. He gonna take it too hard, so I got to be nice to him. I knew I could yell at him and make him an example, and the other one would follow. You know what I'm saying? So as a coach, you got to know your people. As a team, you got to know each other so that you can play.
And a thing like that takes time, and I think it's really important that Shotty knows that, because for maybe some of those casual fans who don't know, Shotty isn't just starting this now. He mentioned in his presser that he's been doing this since he's been there. He started this 4 years ago. When he first got there, just a consultant, right? He says, ever since I've been here, I've been getting to know these players, little by little. Everyone knows comments that you can't get to know everyone just like that. Every year you have new players coming in, new coaching personnel personnel. So now I think he's just kind of taking that, really, really by the horns. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like you said, like I mentioned earlier, you saw him out there with the players today, and really in the offseason, you saw him early in the offseason. I think with Micah's family when it was first. When the first contract, when the contract talks first came about, I saw him out there with Micah Parsons' family out there with the bowling alley, taking pictures, things like that. So I think I just love that Shotty's making it, no pun intended, but really just making it personal. He's really taking it upon himself to really learn his players professionally and personally, because I've been talking about this. It's just it really could just really be the missing ingredient that you need to really have a successful team, because sometimes you just need those feelings, need those emotions. You need to know what the guy next to you was thinking without having to ask him, okay, what you thinking? What's the next move?
Right.
What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it just can't just be that professional connection. Sometimes you need that personal connection, because that can lead to those split second plays, those split second, really those moments, in those high stakes games that can make a difference.
Facts, exactly. Like I love that how you said that. Like, you gotta know. That's fine. We're gonna give you some fire because it's like you do really have to know. You gotta know. Sometimes, like, people who are connected, we can talk without
right.
Right, you just know based off of their actions, the feeling, the connection, mentally, and stuff like that.
In one offseason, Tolbert was able to build a relationship with Dak and was able to lead the team in touchdowns all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? Like Charlotte Ellis, right? You know what I'm talking about? So it's just like something simple as that. You get to know the player next to you, and I think that's something that I know we really talk about a lot, but Jason Garrett mentioned that as well too. If Pickens come here and get to know Dak, that relationship can really just create some fire. You know what I'm saying? All it takes is that.
Right,
exactly. Like it takes. I mean, we already see the want from both sides. I'm saying Dak already reached out. Pickens is like, look, man, I'm ready to ball. I'm ready to go. Like, tell me where you need me to be. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just need that willingness from all sides to be able to come together and really make something work. You know what I'm saying? So now you just have this gumbo of just talent, respect for one another, trust that the coaching staff and players are building amongst one another. And now, since when you have the front office involved in all this trust, like that talk about missing pieces. If we could just really, we thought the hard piece to get on board was going to be Steven. So to see Steven, like people talking about earlier, see him hanging out and about with these young players who we thought maybe that he wouldn't be able to connect with. If that can really be the missing piece, the final, link, missing puzzle piece, whatever, anyone wants to call it, like to push this organization forward. You talk about, like I said, shout out to Aisha Morrison earlier. She also mentioned them following a trend. And we can just get this organization to follow a full trend of being a fully functional, you want to win championship mindset team. That could really be that all. You know what I'm saying? That could just really be the missing turning piece. If we could just, maybe flip Steven, flip Jerry that, hey, if we could do it this way, we can win this way. Maybe all we needed was a young, we talk about, hey, we just need a younger coach. Who knew all along it could have been Shotty? You know what I'm saying? The whole time.
Exactly. That's what we're saying. Embrace. This is why we're saying embrace the YN. Embrace the YN. Because it's like, it feels like the young energy is what's got everybody up. It's just like with Mike, he just was a little bit of a snooze fest. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have that energy to inspire your team. When they flat, you don't know what to do.
Right.
And Dan Quinn was the same way. Like, Dan Quinn may be a fiery guy off the field, but when he comes to game day, you in the booth.
Talk about it.
You in the booth. Your guys are performing like trash, and you're just like up there. Just like,
so who can they look to?
What's going on? Same thing with Mike McCarthy. Just we lose, and Mike McCarthy just taking deep sighs and slamming iPads, and it's like, but where's the fire to get your guys going? It's not there. It's nowhere. It was nowhere. So it's like, now I feel like we got the young energy. Yeah. It feels like Scotty, these coaches, bringing the young energy is what we needed to ignite this organization. And listen, we're not drinking Kool-Aid, because ultimately we got to see how stuff's going to shake out in September. But when your front office does what they've done, you have to commend them. We have to give them claps. This doesn't mean kissing their ass and saying that everything that they do is good, but when the front office executes how they executed this offseason, we have to give them claps. Like, they did a good job. I still think that there are holes on this team. I still think we need to get a defensive tackle to back up Mozzie. I still think that we should try to get a running back. I am on the Nick Chubb to Dallas. I do think that we need a real physical back to pair with Shotty and someone that has a pedigree that we can trust. I like Jameson Williams, I do, but it's like, you haven't really been good since pre-injury. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not that you're terrible, but I'm talking about playing on the elite level.
Yeah.
Like that, we haven't seen that since your rookie year. Now, it could be that you do need a change of scenery, but we don't need to protect you. Bring some competition in here, and if he beats out Nick Chubb, then beat out Nick Chubb. But bring somebody in here that can bring competition. And I think also, if we want to look into another vet corner, like bringing Gilly back, or just somebody that can kind of like stabilize the ship, because we got three cornerbacks. Sorry, recovering from ATL in Diggs, Butler, and Rebel. So we need to get another cornerback in here that we can kind of lean on and trust. And I feel like bring back old man Gilly. I don't know who else is out. Asante Samuel. I love Asante Samuel Jr. I don't know if they're interested in him, but if they want to go out and get him, I know he is dealing with a neck injury, so that's a little bit of a red flag. But we definitely got to start adding. Those are the three positions where I said we still need to add somebody here. But from what the front office has done so far, they really have done a great job.
Yeah. I mean, and just to your point, Star, as we kind of change into the schedule, I mean, like you said, like it's important for them to get people. I hate to say people, to get players in here who play at that elite level, because we see who we start the schedule off with. We saw them release, that we start the season off playing Philadelphia. We play the Giants, two divisional games out the gate, honestly, and then we see how it goes on. The schedule was just, I ain't gonna say what was officially released at 8:00, but as we're seeing, if you want to kind of click on and kind of zoom in on the schedule, Star. But I just love that, number one, that I'm not gonna say I care whether or not that we play Philly out the gate, but I do like that they had the two divisional games to kind of start the season off, because those are kind of, the, if you will, kind of the, what's the word I want to use? Kind of the compass of the season, if you will, because sometimes the end of the season, you kind of look forward toward the end of the season, because that's where a lot of divisional games have been in the past. Of course, we have Washington, Philly kind of rival of the season, because it kind of tips whether or not either we go to the playoffs or, home field advantage, first, second, whatever seed. But I like that the schedule kind of starts off strong for us, although we did have a bad season last year. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of surprised at how difficult, our schedule is this season, because although we only had 7 wins last season, we still get a difficult schedule. This is great.
Talk about it. It's like, I'm confused. I'm like, how the hell? I'm like, bro, we were 7 and 10 last year. We got this schedule was hard as, but let's look at it. So y'all know we got the shitbirds week 1, which F the Eagles, bro. I just hope. I mean, we need to go in the link and beat the shit out of the Eagles. I'm just saying, like, if these, that's how I feel about the Eagles. I feel like we need to be prepared, because the Eagles, beating the Eagles at the link is can you do? Absolutely. Like, Dak is 9-4 against them, but this is a game where I like that week 1 we got to get up. We got to already be
facts
by week 1. We don't have time to be. That's one reason why I also got on the Nick Chubb train, because I'm like, we don't really have like a schedule where it's like, oh, we can just, we was playing like the Browns,
kind of easing,
or the Panthers week 1. It's like, we got a couple games to get our feet with, but week 1 we're playing Philly. In Philly, so we need to be prepared.
Yeah, no, but even though it's the Giants, I mean, we can't go down divisional win, or we can't have a divisional loss early in the season. So that's also another wake up moment.
We got back-to-back, sis. We got 2 back-to-back divisional games starting off. So we need to be starting off 2-0. Then we go into the Bears, the Packers, the Jets, the Panthers. Now those 4 games. The only team where it's like you better put a question mark, I would say, is actually I would put a question mark on the Bears and the Panthers. The Bears, I feel like we're gonna get them, which we do have to know they do have a new coach. They do have coach, offensive guru Ben Johnson. Woo, everybody loves Ben. So we're gonna see how good Ben Johnson is real fast. And also the Packers, because we know the Packers always have our number, bro. I would love to find. We have not beaten the Packers. Can somebody put in the chat? When's the last time we beat the Packers? Because I really don't know.
Too.
I have no idea. Like, we don't ever beat this team, so we definitely.
And that's going back to Aaron Rodgers, and that's terrible. So we got to,
right. We lost to Aaron Rodgers. We lost worse to Jordan Love. So it's like this team constantly has our damn number. So the Packers and the Bears, I feel like you got to circle. Jets, okay. Panthers, I'm sorry, but I mean, I don't feel. Not saying you can get got by any team, but Jets and Panthers is not a team where I'm like, woo, I'm terrified of. Okay, Washington.
And before we do go further, sis, now I'm kind of seeing what's home and what's away. What's that 4? Is that 4 away games in the first 6 weeks?
I don't know. Let me look. I can check because I think this is Joseph, but I can go check. What's his name? John Machota.
That's what.
Or not John Machota, but Todd Archer, I think.
Okay.
It's because I'm in the big screen. I'm like, where's my stuff at? Yeah, let me go to.
That's a lot of East Coast games too. Philly. I mean, I think the Giants at home.
Here goes Todd Archer. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna click on this so I can show Todd Archer, and then let me share my screen again. Screen share. Okay, so at Eagles. No, it's not. It's not 4 away games in a row. Where are you seeing?
Oh no, I was saying like within the first 6 weeks, it's 4 away games.
Oh yeah, because it's at Eagles, at Bears, at Jets. Well, we play the Packers at home.
Oh, okay.
Bro, we gotta win that game. We gotta win that game versus the Packers at home, especially what they did to us. They better be fired up at that game. Okay, but Packers, then we gotta So away is the Eagles, the Bears, the Jets, and the Panthers. So that's a lot of away games.
But I guess it is kind of balanced. I guess the second half of the season is more home games.
It's kind of balanced. So. Because we see because second half of the season we pretty much ended. Well, no. We have a lot of. It looks like. Is there a stretch where we just have straight home games? No. I mean, we have the Eagles and Chiefs at home.
But then, like the Raiders. I mean, I guess they don't have to really travel. I guess far back. I guess for the Raiders. So I guess, but not, even still.
Yeah, we got to play the Raiders away, Vikings away, Chargers away, Commanders away, Giants away. But we got a lot. So it's like we have a lot of away games in a row, and then they just sprinkle in some home games. Because it looks like the only back-to-back home games we got on this schedule is.
Oh, it looks like Thanksgiving. Okay. When we play Philly and then the Chiefs. So I mean that's only because it's because we play a Thursday night game.
Philly and the Chiefs and Vikings and the Chargers are only back-to-back home games. The rest is home away, home away, home away.
Terrible. So you see how they do us? Yeah, they want to be all like, well, you got to get the primetime games, but then look at our schedule though.
Yeah, we got 8 primetime games. You see how they're doing this? We made one move. This is why I said, bro, that Pickens trade, they had to say, well, they changed that schedule so damn fast when we got. It's like, bro,
that's what I'm saying. Because all of a sudden,
week 1 versus the Eagles. Thanksgiving versus the Chiefs. I was like, we won.
Right. And even look at that run.
Thanksgiving versus
Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, like, Vikings even. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro.
Packers. Like, that's a Packers. Bears and Packers back to back is annoying. It's like, bro.
Because first you got 2 divisional games back to back, and then you got 2 AFC North games back to back. Like, see, y'all, and then.
First of all, bro, look at this shit. They put a lot of our conference games all back to back. Eagles, Giants, Bears, Packers. Then they throw in an AFC game. Panthers, Commanders, throw in an AFC game.
And not to mention Jets and Panthers are both East Coast games. So now you got to go to New York, then go back, and then go back to Carolina. You're like, that travel is not easy, y'all.
They be trying to hold us. They do this shit every year. They be trying to hold us on the schedule. But this schedule is this is a schedule where it is, there's not, and hey James, how y'all doing? And David Lascelle and Rico, everybody who joined the chat. But yeah, this is a schedule where you got some teams that it's pretty. I would say it's a hard schedule. It's a hard schedule. Because a lot of these teams that you would think are easy kind of have changed. Like teams like the Broncos, the Raiders, like those teams have complete makeovers. The Vikings. They got a complete defensive makeover, and they were good last year. You know what I'm saying?
Also,
so
I'm throwing Cardinals. Because, I mean, I know they have some newer pieces.
Cardinals too.
Yeah,
Cardinals too. And the Cardinals
have a little more chemistry. Murray has another year. With Xavier Worthy, with some of the pieces they kind of brought in. I know they're going to have a new, obviously a new offensive coordinator. I believe he was offensive coordinator there, Clayton Adams. So they're going to have changes with that. But yeah, these teams, although they would look different, even I'm not big enough the Panthers, but they did get some.
Panthers got better too. They got better. Their defense, well, let's be honest, their offense got better. Their defense is still horrible. But the Panthers for some reason always play us tough, no matter how horrible they are. All these low teams, they play us like it's a damn Super Bowl. So yeah, we definitely got a schedule. We got ourselves quite the schedule. So this is not a schedule of y'all just beat up on easy teams. Hell no, ain't gonna be no easy teams. Like we will know. Just like last year we had a hard schedule. This year we have a hard schedule, so there's no hiding. It's either you're going to be a good team and a contender, or you're not. Because there's enough teams on here, to show us like shit or get off the pot, basically. You know what I'm saying? A lot of teams on here that we got to take 100% seriously. The worst team on our schedule is the Panthers.
Facts, and that early in the season, y'all.
That's the worst team. Well, and the Giants. Yeah. The Giants. Yeah.
It's just,
but other than that,
I'm definitely. I'll definitely say, me personally, I'm surprised to see how difficult it does look now. As like you said, with the changes and everything that's kind of conspiring in the off season. I'll say I'm happy. I guess with the bye week, I'm glad that it's in the middle of the season as opposed to week 7 as we've had.
Me too. That does give us a bright season. That was
definitely bad. But outside of that, I'm definitely happy. Like I said, happy with the bye week. I'm not happy with kind of the back and forth going. Because I mean, so like I know it's been said over a year, but somehow we're Cowboys are still NFC East. But we have somehow the most travel out of the NFC East, teams in the division. So I'm glad that we'll definitely get a test this year. And we'll actually, like you said, we'll see early on in the season whether or not these Cowboys will be able to hold up against these tougher teams. Because you're not gonna be able, like you said, not be able to, quote unquote, get our feet wet, kind of start the season off, kind of, little by little baby steps. No, they're tossing us in the water. We're tossing the Cowboys in the water.
We get in the week. Week 1, they're like throwing the fire, and it's like then we play on Christmas this year too. So it's like
Thanksgiving, man. I know it was awful.
And Thanksgiving versus the Chiefs, bro.
Right.
So
after coming off being the Eagles, so it's just like there's some big games back to back. So it's one thing to have
some big games. There's some big games for sure back to back. And you're right, David. I agree with you. He said, honestly, we need this. We need to tough up for a playoff run. Absolutely. Yeah. It's better when you can go through the fire and you can have tough games. And I just want us, Shotty, we need to start winning the tough games. That's what's gonna start. That's when I'm gonna really start drinking. Like when we start winning tough games. Not, we almost won, but we just made a couple of mistakes. No, I want to start winning these tough games that people say we're not going to win, because then that will show me, okay, we're serious. Now, of course, any given Sunday, you don't know how shit's going to turn up in the playoffs and stuff like that. But if we can beat some of these teams like the Packers, can we beat them finally? The Cardinals, can we beat them? Can we beat them finally? Like, please, let's pull together and win these games. I'm tired of almost winning or just getting flat out embarrassed. Like the embarrassing losses that we experienced under Mike McCarthy was excruciating. I don't want to see any more of those games where we're just getting our ass is kicked and there's nothing we can do about it. That's why we said embrace the YN.
Right.
But anyway,
and just one last point I want to make. I want to see how, like you said, I want to see how Schottenheimer kind of brings the team together, and just really just how these players kind of embrace their roles. Like I know I think, like I mentioned earlier, how they kind of attack the depth with the draft and of course with the free agency. But I want to see how these starters and some of these depth pieces kind of attack their roles and how they can kind of come together as one, and how they're kind of exercise their roles throughout the season. And just then we kind of talked about, at least in my opinion, I love the rotation that we have on defense, the defensive line. So I want to be able to see that. I want to see what, of course, once the season starts, just how much each rotation, if you will, just how effective each rotation is. I don't want it to just be, okay, we got to have our starters out there to be effective. I want to be able to have that rotation out there to be able to give our starters some rest. And the same thing on offense too. I want to be able to have Sneedy and Pickens out there, but I still do. I'm kind of like Shine in the way. I still do want to see the progression of Tolbert. See what Brooks, see what they can bring in training camp. Because I really want the best out of that wide receiver room. I didn't bring up the tweet I had saved from Tyler Archer. Make sure you guys follow him. One of the best tweets out there as far as Cowboy Nation. But he actually had a whole list of all the wide receivers in that room, and just bringing a Pickens in here automatically updates that room. But I still want to see a hard, tough competition to see who's really going to take that wide receiver 3 role and just really come out with the best 5 or 6. However many wide receivers they decide to go with. Really, I really love Shai's message of competition. Make sure you guys, no matter who you are, starter, undrafted, make sure you guys come out and bring your best so we can come out with the best players and just be able to have a great rotation of, the first line, second line, third line of defense, or when you bring out receivers, when you bring out the running back room. I just want everybody to really exercise their roles, and I really want the best, starting 5 as far as offensive line, the best starting 3 or 4 wide receivers, the best starting running backs. I want the best, out of every position group, because we have the teachers in the rooms now. We have the head coach who brought these people in. We have, hopefully, the trust kind of building with the front office. I think that's really why we're kind of seeing these moves this season, because I know, last season we were kind of questioning why McCarthy wasn't getting his way. Even now, questions are being, rising. Did McCarthy give up? Was he not as, tough as what he wanted? Did they just not like him? All these could be possibilities, but we're seeing differences now this year with Shotty. So now I know it's a new coaching staff, maybe new trust. Maybe this is who Jerry wanted all along. Who knows? And maybe this is Steven's best buddy. Maybe that's why we're seeing more Steven out. And maybe he finally got what he wanted. I don't know. This could all be possibilities, but we're seeing a change. We're seeing the move being made. I'm not going to be mad how they're being made. I just want to see them be effective. You feel me? So if we could get, things moving forward, this could really just be amazing for the Cowboys organization as a whole, and just really for the spirit. And then we've seen the spirit as far as the fan base kind of to go up. Hopefully we'll see that kind of following with the players as well. I know we've kind of seen our players kind of down bad, and I don't want to see any more wasted talent for our players either. I hate to see guys kind of leave and not hate to say, not get what they deserve or what they came for, because, not everybody leaves with a ring, you know what I'm saying? But I just want to see more use out of our talent that we bring in with these young guys, because I hate to see wasted talent, seeing our Hall of Famers retire with no ring, Hall of Famers retire with no recent AFC championships, you know what I mean? So I just want to see the best out of this organization.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Everything you said, sis. I think the competition, and we can do a show on that, like talking about battles and different stuff like that, in the future, because there's a lot of battles that I'm excited for, and I think some battles, if we actually have true competition, will catch us by surprise. Real quick, I do want to shout out Vaj. Apparently he was in the chat. I missed his chat, but I saw some people.
Me too.
Hey, Vaj. So Vaj, if you're still here, shout out to Vaj. We appreciate you so much for joining us on the show, I think a couple weeks ago. Really appreciate you. And thank you for supporting us for sure. But yeah, guys, we think this was a great show. We know we kind of talked about George Pickens, the culture change, and went through the schedule and things like that. And so, thank you guys for rocking with us. Please, if you haven't already liked the video, please like the video. Please share the video, right? And please subscribe to our YouTube channels if y'all haven't done so already. And also, please donate to our Cash Apps so that we can continue to build and upgrade our stream and do various things that we need just for our brand in general. So please help us, and love y'all, and really appreciate y'all rocking in the chat with us tonight, and hopefully we can see y'all again next
definitely love you guys. Peace. See you guys next week. Appreciate you, sis. See you next week.
See ya.